Alright, it's time for the Q&A. I hope the lighting's alright. I try to tame it a little bit. I got half the window covered up, so, but let's go ahead and start. And starting with the newest first. From the first video, I got 13 comments. Many questions. First set of questions are from Awesome Tricks 5000. He has 3 questions. Hi there, John. Cool to see you in live action again. Here are the questions. Question number 1. What are your thoughts on the FIFA, I guess that's how you say it, the World Cup, non-American football in general? To be honest, I'm just indifferent about it. You know, I just don't really pay attention that much to it. That's just me. The only football that I watch is American football. I'm a Panthers fan, so, you know, we got, what, maybe 2 more months until the season starts, so I can't wait. I think it's August. But, you know, outside of that, you know, I don't really pay that much attention to non-American football. Not that there's anything wrong with that, so that's just me. Question number 2. Is Canada better than USA? Is life better there? Your thoughts? I don't know. I don't live in Canada. Never been to Canada. I know that Matt Thomas, Studio Red Band, you know, he lives up in Canada. Maybe one day I would like to go up there, check it out. I mean, you guys, you know, you Canadians have provided us some of the greatest comics. I mean, like Jim Carrey, Dan Aykroyd, Rick Moranis, John Candy, which I know he's passed, but, you know, a lot of great comedians come from Canada. That's one of the first things I think about. You know, like I mentioned, Jim Carrey, Rick Moranis, Dan Aykroyd, I think, is from Canada. So a lot of greats. And then also in sports, I mean, you got Bret Hart, who's Canadian, a Canadian hero. But yeah, I mean, I can't say because I never lived up there. But you know, maybe someday I'd like to go to Canada. You know, put that on my bucket list. And the last question: what movies may be awesome to see next year, 2019, except Avengers? What's coming out next year? I have no idea. I mean, maybe Spider-Man. Is the next Spider-Man coming out next year? Maybe that. Like, you know, I don't look forward to Rambo 5. That's coming out. You know, I'll pass on that. I don't know what's coming out next year. I could, you know, this year, you know, there's a few that I look forward to that I still want to see. Such as The Meg. I still would like to see Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom. I still want to see that. I did see Deadpool 2, which I loved. Infinity War, which I liked. I don't know. I don't know what's coming out next year. I really haven't paid that much attention to what's coming out. You know, I mean, I can look, but I'm just trying to go off the top of my head, and I don't know. It's tough to say because, you know, the state of movies right now, it's hard to look forward to a lot of things. You know, it's just, I kind of get burned out by the BS, to me. But that's just my opinion. But you know what? Let's go ahead and look, because now I'm curious. I don't want to leave you on that answer. Captain Marvel, maybe. Toy Story 4, not really. Star Wars Episode 9, no thanks. The Lion King, doesn't interest me. Wonder Woman 1984, doesn't interest me. Dumbo, I don't know, it just doesn't interest me. It Chapter 2 is coming out. Aladdin, Shazam, maybe Top Gun 2, Maverick, John Wick Chapter 3, I forgot about that. I look forward to that. And that's one film I look forward to. The Hellboy reboot, not really. T6, not really. Detective Pikachu, Suicide Squad 2, I'll pass. So maybe a couple next year, like John Wick 3, and maybe Shazam. Bond 25, if that's coming out next year, I look forward to that. So there's, and then Top Gun Maverick, so maybe 4. 4 is kind of stretching, but let's say 3 right now. So, yeah, I mean, I would say those. But thank you for the questions. Awesome Tricks 5000. Let's see. Next set of questions are from Stoner Crazy Clips 222. He has 4 questions. What do you think of the Disney Vault or similar marketing gimmicks to get you to buy a movie? To be honest, it's just, I don't have much thought on that. I mean, it depends on the film. Like Disney films, I like Aladdin. Definitely haven't seen that in a while, but that like, it doesn't really bother me. Like, I don't know what I can add to that as far as thought. Is it a gimmick? I don't know. It's hard to say if it's a gimmick. I don't know. Just don't have much thought on that. It's not like I have a bunch of Disney films. And again, ones I like. I like The Lion King. I like Aladdin. I don't own them. But I don't know. I mean, I don't really have an opinion on that one. Let's see. Where's my drink? Second question. Thoughts on Halloween 2018. What could have they done differently? How about not do it at all? To be honest with you, I've seen the trailer a few times. It's just, how many times can they fucking milk this teat dry? I'm sure it's going to make money. It's not a question of that. It's a question of why. Why do it? Why make it? And why go there? When, they said from the beginning, oh, we're going to retcon the sequels, after the ones after the original did not happen. They don't exist. They don't exist in this timeline or in the story. So we're going to pick up 40 years after the original. I could probably understand if you say, we're going to pick up after the first 2 Halloween films. I could understand that. And I like the first 4 Halloween films. Halloween 5, don't get me started. But maybe that I could understand a little, but this is like, we're going to just throw away the history. Oh, Michael was never Laurie's brother. That's just something they made up. I think didn't they say that in the trailer? It's like, why do they continue to fuck with everything like this? Why do they continue to fuck with story? It's just, I don't look forward to it. As you can tell by the look on my face, I don't look forward to it. Again, I've seen the trailer a few times, and it just does not interest me. So great, Laurie is kind of the new Dr. Loomis. She's the crazy one. Because we didn't see that coming. I just don't have much hope, and I don't really care. I don't really care for another Halloween film. If you look forward to it, that's cool. If people out there look forward to it, no problem. For me personally, I take a big fat pass. Because I've been burned many times, whether by reboots, remakes. Well, this is not a reboot, it's not a remake. Well, it's pretty fucking close. It feels like it because they want to throw away, again, they want to throw away all the history. They want to throw away everything that took place after the first Halloween. It's like nothing matters anymore. Nothing matters as long as we can give it a 2018 paint job. As long as we can paint everything with a new brush. It's like, here you go. You like Halloween? Well, here you go. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. No, I won't love it. Because I'm tired of Halloween. To be honest, I've seen the Rob Zombie remake. Not a fan of that one. And I don't want to see the second one. The first one was bad enough. If you like it, that's cool, but I've seen that one. And that's what the trailer reminds me of. It reminds me of the Halloween remake. You know, and the original. And I just don't really care. And H2O reminds me of that too, which I'd rather watch H2O. I'd rather watch Halloween Insurrection. Or is that the one with Busta Rhymes? I'd rather watch that one than this one. So if you look forward to it again, I keep saying that because I want to, you know, don't get pissed. You know, don't get pissed if I'm just being honest. You know, that's just my opinion. I just don't look forward to this one. It's just, I'm tired of Halloween. What more can they do? It's the same pattern. It's the same, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the same premise. It's the same formula. That's probably why, you know, they haven't really done, you know, you think about the Elm Street remake. They really haven't gone back to that since. Because, I mean, that was a flop, thank God. But it just goes to show that, you know, people just don't really care anymore about these type of films. You know, slashers or, you know, and again, I'm not saying it's not going to make money. I'm sure it's going to make money. But for how long can you dry it out? For how long can you keep milking this? You know, don't piss down my leg and tell me it's raining. But that's what they're trying to do with this new Halloween. Is that they're trying to piss down my leg and tell me it's raining. So that's my thoughts. Next question. Which genre needs an overhaul? Oh. Which genre needs an overhaul? You know what? I'll say the action genre because I love the John Wick films, but if it's not a John Wick film, then 9 times out of 10, it seems like it sucks. You know, comic book films are comic book films, but they're not truly action films. You know, because it's like I look at that new, what's that new movie coming out with Rian Johnson? That looks like a Die Hard remake. Skyscraper. I'm like, okay, I don't mind the idea, but just the way it looks, it's very CGI, it's very green screen. Oh, the main character has a handicap. You know, what does he have, like one leg? That doesn't bother me, it's just, I think the action genre needs an overhaul. I mean, again, I love the John Wick films, but everything else, it seems like it either goes direct to video, you know, a lot of times it goes direct to video, or it sucks. You know, I don't know, I mean, what can they do? Just, again, take note from John Wick. That's how you can do it. You can, and for guys like Stallone, who keeps making these bad decisions, like, you know, I'm going to do Rambo 5. You know, I'm going to do Expendables 4. You know, which are on the way. You know, now Creed 2 is out. I didn't really care for the trailer that much. But you look at those guys, you know, they don't have much time left. They maybe have, what, a handful of films, and they're done. And whenever they do focus on the current action star, they never give them a chance. Or if they give them a chance, like, let's say, Vin Diesel or Statham, and they have a film that comes out and flops, then they always go to the Fast Five bank. Because that can make, you know, that makes bank. You know, everything else just kind of falls by the wayside, and it's sad that we can't have a good action film anymore, you know, unless it's John Wick, you know, that's the exception. But everything else, it's very green screen, it's very CGI. There's no practical explosions, there's no practical way of doing things. So it's hard to root for the hero, it's hard to invest into a hero. Because they already got, you know, Marvel films, they already got DC films. And people may consider that action, but to me, in my heart, they're not action films. An action film is when you can invest in the hero, the main character, which still has that human element that you can invest in. That's badass. And I think the action genre needs an overhaul. They need to look at, I don't know what they could do. It's hard to come up with ideas at the moment. But I think we need to get back to those roots of the hero. The human element. I think that's what I'm getting at. Is if we could just get back to the human element, I think, you know, the action genre would be a little bit better. I'm not saying that, you know, that would be a winner for everything. That would be a winner all the time because, you know, so, I mean, like, let's say that last Triple X film, Vin Diesel. I didn't see that film, but I've heard it's not too good. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to... I could just say, for every action film, just look at John Wick. That's how you can do it. But 9 times out of 10, you know, it just doesn't... It's very, again, I keep saying this, but it's very CGI. It's very green screen. You know, the hero, it's hard to cheer for when he's, like in the skyscraper trailer, you see him jumping across, you know, he's going in the air. It looks very fake. Another genre that I think could use an overhaul is the sci-fi genre, because it seems like the sci-fi genre you just don't see a lot of nowadays unless it's on the Sci-Fi Channel. I mean, think about it. You don't really get a lot of great sci-fi films nowadays. And I don't count The Force Awakens. I don't count The Last Jedi. Because to me, they're not good movies. I know it's subjective, to each his own, but if that's what the sci-fi genre is, then we need a fucking overhaul. Star Trek. I don't give 2 shits about the new series, Star Trek Discovery, because it looks boring as piss. And I don't care, they're gonna make a new Star Trek reboot, and somehow they're gonna bring back Patrick Stewart. Because what is Patrick Stewart gonna do? You're just gonna bring him in for a cameo, and it's just gonna be a cameo. It's gonna be a glorified cameo. So I don't give a shit. So I would say that's my second pick. If I had to pick another genre that needs a fucking overhaul, it's gotta be the sci-fi genre, because we need better sci-fi films. Not just Sci-Fi Channel looking films. We need something that can go into theater, that actually looks good, that actually tells a story, that has good characters. That's not, a reboot, that's not a retread. Like The Force Awakens, The Fart Awakens. That's not an insult. That's not, like the recent Star Wars films. Because a lot of fans right now are soured by the Star Wars films. A lot of fans are soured. And you got a lot of fans that are mad and pissed. I'm one of them. You got the Star Trek. They're really stretching that out. And, Star Trek, it's been wearing thin with me for a while. Starting with that 2009 film. And I could care less about Star Trek now. And that's sad. Because I like Star Trek more. And at this point, I just don't care. I don't care anymore about Star Trek. Unless it's the old stuff. I like the Next Generation. I still have to check out Voyager and Deep Space Nine. But sci-fi, the sci-fi genre, needs an overhaul bad. Well, thank you for the question. Well, I got one more. Is there any hope for Star Wars Episode 9? No. I think after that last one, people are just disenfranchised. They're soured. You got a lot of people that are pissed. And it wouldn't surprise me if it makes less money. Because Solo underperformed. They look at that. And what I've heard recently, they've had to put some of the spin-offs on hold. Like the Boba Fett film and the Obi-Wan Kenobi film. Because of Solo. I think people are burned. People are burned by Star Wars. They're tired of Star Wars. They're tired of The Last Jedi and what that did. Whether if you liked it or not, you gotta be honest that the last one was just not good. And then you got, I have to call out something here. You know what I'm tired of? I'm tired of Rian Johnson's ass on Twitter. You get into these fights with trolls and fans, the asshole fans. And there's just always this constant back and forth between those parties. And Rian Johnson, which I doubt you'll watch, why are you giving in to these trolls? It's like poking a hornet's nest. It does no good. Because all that does is it riles, it gets more people riled up. And it gets more people against you. And then you get all these articles out there that just want to paint all fans with a broad brush. And that's what's bad, with these asshole trolls, the few out there that don't really care, that don't give a damn, that go on Twitter and they want to, go on this witch hunt, for Rian Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy. I didn't like The Last Jedi, but you don't see me going on Twitter and going after Rian Johnson about it. But the few assholes out there, because of them, every fan is painted with a broad brush. If you don't like it, then you're just as bad as them. They don't care if you have fair criticisms. Because if you didn't like it, you're a hater. If you didn't like it, you're on Rian Johnson's shit list. And that's what pisses me off. Because I'm sick and tired of these directors, filmmakers out there, producers, these higher-ups that want to get into it with these trolls when you've never heard of a block button, you can't block their ass. You just want to keep feeding and giving into these people that have nothing better to do. And then at the end of the day, or when something happens, you see these articles that blow up, this thing. Like, every fan is just as bad. That every fan that doesn't agree or doesn't like the film, you're going to group us with a few trolls out there, the few assholes. So that's what pisses me off even more. And that's why people are more divisive. They're more split. Like, almost can't say split. They're more pissed. You know, no wonder that I saw something on Twitter recently about this. I don't know if it's a company or whatever, but this production company is throwing up a lot of money to remake The Last Jedi. And some people are making fun of it. Some people are like, yeah, go for it. And you know what? I'll be curious to see that. I doubt if it would happen. I doubt if that would happen, but it's just, and yeah, maybe it does sound like a joke, but as far as episode 9, I could care less. I'm not going to see it. I think, to be honest with you, more people are just burned out. I think we're all burned out by Star Wars, especially after that last one. That last one sucked so bad. But again, you're not going to see me go after Rian Johnson or Kathleen Kennedy, because I have better shit to do. And for the people out there that, that want to go after those, people, calm the fuck down. Just back off. But I know they won't listen because they're just going to keep going. And it's going to be every day, it's going to be a constant battle between Rian Johnson and the trolls and the Twitter feuds, Kathleen Kennedy, everyone's, and I just fuck it. Fuck Star Wars. I just don't care. No, there's no hope for episode 9 because it's just going to be the same thing. It's going to be the same thing, to be honest. But thank you for the questions. Next set of questions are from Tyler Barwick, who has 5 questions. Question number 1, are you looking forward to John Wick Chapter 3? Definitely. I look forward to it. I love the first 2. It has a nice cast. Not only got Keanu Reeves, but you got Lawrence Fishburne back. I think you got Mark Dacascos, who plays a villain in this one. Which I think they have a fight, from what I saw behind the scenes, that Mark Dacascos and Keanu Reeves will have a fight in the film. I look forward to that. You got Halle Berry in the film. Some of the same characters. I think Ruby Rose is coming back, who played the deaf chick in Chapter 2. So yeah, I look forward to it. If there's one film next year I look forward to, I would say definitely that. That's at the top of my list. And so yeah, I look forward to John Wick Chapter 3. Question number 2, what is your favorite Bruce Willis film? It's got to be Die Hard. It's got to be Die Hard. What more can you say about that one? But there's a lot of great ones. I would say The Last Boy Scout would probably be my second. But you got to go with Die Hard. Question number 3, what are your thoughts on Bad Santa 1 and 2? I love Bad Santa. I watched that quite a few times last year around Christmas. I love Bad Santa. I think it's hilarious. Bad Santa 2 I did see, and I thought it was terrible. I thought it was a very bad sequel. It's like, after all these years, talked about making a Bad Santa, and you give us that. It's just like with Dumb and Dumber 2, it just didn't work. It fell flat. Bad Santa 2 is a bad sequel. But I love the first Bad Santa. Definitely one of my favorite holiday films. It's definitely in there. Would definitely be in my top 10 of holiday films. Question number 4, what are your thoughts on 21 and 22 Jump Street? I haven't seen those. I think I have them. I just haven't watched them yet. So at some point I will definitely watch those and share you my thoughts. And the last question, what are your honest thoughts on The Walking Dead? Well, I was into The Walking Dead a little bit for like the first 2 seasons when it started. So this was back in, 2009, 10 maybe? So it's been a long time ago. And then after the first couple of seasons, I just gave up. I'm like, if this is the direction of the show, then I'm going to get bored really quick. And, you know, some of the characters I like, you know, will later die, which, you know, you could say that was going to happen anyways. But, you know, still, it's just, I think they've really stretched themselves. They've really stretched it out with The Walking Dead. And now, they're going to have one more season, and that's it. So, yeah, I mean, I just got bored with it. After, you know, 2 seasons, I just got bored. And I'm like, yeah, it's just going to be, you know, all talk and no zombies, really. Barely any zombies. You know, and I just didn't care anymore. I didn't care. It's like I'd rather watch Breaking Bad, which I think is a better show. I just got tired of The Walking Dead. That's my honest thoughts. You know. But that's just... I know the Negan character looks pretty cool. You know, I've seen clips and stuff of the later seasons, but I just don't have enough interest to watch those. You know, I just gave up. But thank you for the questions. Question number... Well, actually, that's all the questions from Tyler Barwick. Thank you. Let's see, I got 4 questions from Drew Michael. Question number 1. What is the worst horror franchise besides Leprechaun? Well, I haven't really seen that many horror franchises that is as bad as Leprechaun. I mean, if I could take a guess, I would say Children of the Corn, because they made like, what, 9, 10, 11 of those? But that's just going off like assumption, because I haven't seen those. You know what? I actually got one in mind. I actually got one. The Human Centipede. I saw the first one, I saw the third one, and don't ask why. But I would say that's the second worst horror franchise, in my honest opinion. Fuck those movies. Human Centipede. It's definitely the worst. It's right there with Leprechaun, neck and neck. So I would say those. Especially the third one was god-awful, because you had Debo from Friday, you know, in it. And I think Eric Roberts. So, yeah, that... Can't stand those movies. Question number 2. Do you think the Star Wars franchise can be redeemed at this point? Why or why not? Again, no, because there's too many fans that are just burned out. We're burned out by Star Wars. We're burned out by their direction. We're burned out by their agenda. You know, they rather focus on, you know, let's say Lando the pansexual. They rather focus on what a character fucks than the story. Like, I could care less what a character fucks. Give me a good story. Give me a good character. Now, I can have a feeling that Solo, you know, would probably be less offensive than those Star Wars films, than, you know, The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, but it's not saying much, because they're just, it's oversaturated. That's a word I'm looking for, too. It's oversaturated, and, you know, every year it's a Star Wars film, and it seems like every year more and more fans are becoming disenfranchised. So, I can't say there's any sort of redemption at this point, because we're tired of it. We can see through their bullshit. We can see right through it. And people are tired of it. That's why I don't see them coming back. How about just give Star Wars to another company that's not going to disrespect it, that's not going to, you know, oversaturate it and water it down. But that's my opinion. Question number 3. What are the worst action movie franchises? I don't know. I have no idea. Action movie franchises. Escape Plan, I could say that. I know that's going off assumption too because I haven't seen the second or third one, but that didn't need a franchise. Fuck, my nose is itching. But yeah, I can say that. I can take a good guess right now. The Bourne films, I wouldn't say it's the worst, but it's definitely one franchise I don't care for. Because of the shaky cam, because of the sporadic editing and all that. But is it the worst action movie franchise? I'm trying to think. Action movie franchise. I don't know, maybe by default, I would say the Bourne films. I'm trying to think of other ones that just going off the top of my head without looking. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. What do you think is the worst action movie franchise? I mean, there's certainly bad sequels. There's bad action sequels, but as far as a franchise, I mean, I would say at the moment the Bourne films. Question number 4. Which of these actors is a better action hero, David Bradley or Sasha Mitchell? Wasn't Sasha Mitchell in the Kickboxer sequels? Yeah, is that Cody? David Bradley, I don't know who that is. I could look him up. Let me look him up. David Bradley. What was he in? The Harry Potter films, Hot Fuzz. Unless there's another David Bradley that I'm missing, because that don't seem right. Okay, yeah. That's a different David Bradley. Okay, he was in American Ninja 4, American Samurai, Blood Warriors. So I never heard of him. Never heard of that. I've heard of Sasha Mitchell. I can't really say because I haven't really seen the Kickboxer sequels, and I haven't really seen anything with David Bradley in it, so I don't know. I can't really say who's the better action star. I mean, I don't know. But thank you for the questions. Next set of questions are from Tyne&WearPrecentGuy. Hi, John. Great to see you back again. Do another Q&A. I have 7 questions for you. Question number 1. Have you ever seen the band film from the early 1970s called Straw Dogs? I've heard about it. I think that's the one with Dustin Hoffman. I haven't seen it. I know there is a remake, and I do own the remake because I found it for real cheap. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, I would be curious to watch the original if I could ever find it. But no, I haven't seen it. I've heard about it. Question number 2. I know it's not another remake, but I think the trailer for the upcoming remake of Suspiria looks 100 times better than the trailer for the new Halloween. Have you seen the trailer? And if you have, what are your thoughts? I haven't seen the trailer. I've heard about it. I've heard a lot of people talk about the Suspiria trailer, but I haven't seen the original. So, you know, I would have to see the original and then watch the trailer for the remake so I can give some thought on that. So, but I've heard a lot of people talk about it, you know, especially in the horror community on Twitter and stuff, and, you know, that some people say it looks great and some people say it looks, you know, doesn't look great, so, but don't have much thought, and, but maybe I'll still check it out anyways. Maybe I'll still check out the trailer. Question number 3. Back in the year 2010, instead of The Expendables and Machete, would you like to have seen Tarantino and Rodriguez do a sequel to Planet Terror with Stallone and Arnold? To be honest, no. I mean, I like The Expendables. I hate Machete. I love Planet Terror, but, you know, I kind of like the way things are with that. Like, if I could switch that around a little bit, if I were to have the Expendables, which I think Arnold was still in office at this time, so probably would have been hard, which is why he only did a cameo, but let's say, wishful thinking, I would have Sly and Arnold be the main stars of the Expendables. Or let's say have, you know, Stallone's team against Arnold's team. But, you know, also I love the first Expendables film, and I really wouldn't change it all that much. Machete, I think, was a poorly executed action film. It could have been so much more, but it's just, and I haven't seen that film in a while, and someday I would like to, you know, rewatch it again, just to refresh on it, because I haven't seen it since it came out, which has been almost, 8-9 years. Some things I remember, you know, Steven Seagal killing himself, and I remember Don Johnson getting killed off screen, which I thought was lame. So I don't like the film, but, you know, maybe someday for cheap, I would like to see it again. Again, to sort of refresh. Planet Terror, I didn't see in theater, but I do own the film, and I love it. That's another film that I want to rewatch again. I love Planet Terror. And I really wouldn't change that much about it. But that's just me. I would have kept the Expendables, but in my mind, I would like to have seen Sly and Arnold, you know, be sort of against each other in the first film. You know, if I could, you know, switch around that question a little bit. But that's just me. Question number 4. Have you seen the 1987 Italian slasher film Stage Fright? Haven't seen it. Never heard of it. I don't know. Never heard of that one. Question number 5. Have you ever heard of the Italian horror director called Sergio Martino? Never heard of him. It feels like I'm missing out with some of these questions because it's either a film that I haven't seen or a director never heard of. And that goes for the next question too. Have you ever heard of a French actress called Edwige Finish? Again, never heard of her. But, you know, it seems you may know some about her, so you can probably tell me and let me know. Which I know there's always IMDb, but, you know, I have never heard of that director, Sergio Martino, and never heard of that actress. But, yeah. Question number 7. I know you're maybe not a fan of the rape and revenge genre, but I see a new one this year, and it looks really good, called Revenge. Have you seen it? What are your thoughts? Let me look this up. Let's see, Revenge. I want to say I heard about it. Well, okay, I haven't heard about this one. And it's already out. You just have a few people in the cast. Is that the one I'm looking at? Well, it's already come out this year, it looks like, but action horror thriller. I don't know, is that the one? I don't know, I mean, if that's the one you're talking about, I haven't heard about that one. That's new to me. But there is a film called Revenge that came out in May of this year. Directed by Carly. I can't pronounce her last name, but yeah. Looks like an independent film. It's got to be it because it's rated R for strong, bloody, gruesome violence, so rape, sexuality, graphic nudity, so that's definitely it. but I haven't heard of that one. But thank you for the questions. The next set of questions are from Turbo Tech War. Thank you for the questions. Question number 1. Please start with the raging rant against Wikia, also known as Fandom, aka FakeDom. This is a website, software network where I've spent 5 years managing my own webpage, where I reviewed films and discussed other movie-related stuff, until the shitflake admin named Brandon Ray blocked me infinitely for vandalism and other disruptional activities. Even though he did not provide any examples of minor vandalism, finish out by choosing which martial artist would you choose for Brandon Ray. I've never heard of this situation, but it seems a little familiar because my old channel got, I remember my old channel got shut down for, well, not vandalism, but kind of bullshit reasoning, and they wouldn't give me reasons. Well, I never contacted them, but I kind of know what you mean. I know what you feel a little bit. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know your situation. I don't know who this guy is, but if I could pick a martial artist to take him out, Jess Beekman. Jess Beekman, I guess. But I'm sorry to hear about that situation. Sounds like a lot of BS to me. Sounds like a lot of, we're just gonna give you the boot and not answer any questions, not give you a reason why. So, sorry about that. Again, it's hard to go into a raging rant, because I don't really know who that is, but you can always call up Jeff Speakman. I'm sure he would take him out. But question number 2. Stallone has been accused of rape. What are your thoughts? I just don't believe it, to be honest. I think it's a lot of BS. And everyone is being called out for rape, even Morgan Freeman. Which, have you noticed that thing sort of went away? I don't know. I can go into all that. I can talk about that all day, but I have a hard time believing it. And didn't one person fake their story? I don't buy it for a second. I don't. Now, if they can prove and they can actually present evidence, and, if they can show evidence, if they can actually present physical, actual, here's Exhibit A, Exhibit B, then yes, my opinion would totally change like that. As much as a fan I am of Stallone, it would definitely change. Certainly. For certain. So don't get me wrong. But to me, it just sounds like a lot of what's going on right now, to me, in my honest opinion, it just seems like sort of a hunt. And it's either they wait till these guys are in their 70s and 80s, because they know they have a lot of this. But again, I could talk about that all day. I could go into that all day about what's sort of happening right now. But yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't really buy it. Question number 3, what happened to Steven Seagal? I think we've been asking that same question for the past decade and a half. What happened to Steven Seagal? Who knows? To me, I mean, you can answer that question 50 different ways. He went to Burger King too much. He went to KFC too much. He went to McDonald's too much. He went to In-N-Out too much. I'm sure he's going to hit up the new IHOB and get some burgers. Any place there's burgers, you're going to find Seagal. But no, I can't, yeah. It's hard to answer because I wish I knew what happened to Steven Seagal. And where is he now? I mean, he's probably hibernating in Russia. Last thing I heard, he's going to make Above the Law 2. And to be honest, I just don't care. You know, I think, was it a couple of years ago, he made like 7 films in 1 year? I mean, he's still making direct-to-video pile of shits. He's still making direct-to-video films. So no, I don't know what happened to Steven Seagal. I think a lot of it is ego. That's another guy that was accused of rape and sex slaves and stuff like that. And that I could probably believe a little bit, because there's always been stories. There's always been more than others. In the case of Steven Seagal, there's always been, it just seems plausible. Because he seems like that type, you know, the guy that, the zenful type. You know, I know that, I have seen that clip before about Rob Schneider tell that story about, like he was on the phone with Seagal or something like that, and he was screaming at this woman. But, I mean, I don't know, it's just, I think it was a mix of ego, it's a mix of don't give a shit, and you can see it. You can see it as direct-to-video films. Just go back over the past 15 years, from Belly of the Beast, The Foreigner, Out for a Kill. I can't name all those films. That's too many. That's too many. What's some other ones he did? Out for a Kill, Submerged. I mean, films that I'd rather not waste my time. I've seen a handful of them, and, you know, that's enough for me. That's all I can take. So, Steven Seagal, wherever you're at, you know, please, no more direct-to-video films. Please, no Above the Law 2. We don't need to see that. You know, it seems like you've been quiet lately. Stay quiet. Because whenever you start making movies again, I did see a clip where he's in this movie where he gets beat the fuck up by Mike Tyson in this bar in a nothing role. So, and that's where your career has gone, Steven Seagal. You've gone from your golden era, where you were badass in films like, you know, Out for Justice and Marked for Death and, you know, Under Siege, till now you're making 7 films a year, 5 to 7 direct-to-video films a year with Rob Van Dam, or you're getting your ass kicked by Mike Tyson in a nothing fight. That's your career. So, again, it's hard to answer that question because there's so many answers. I wish I knew. I don't know what happened to Steven Seagal. Question number 4, have you seen Rampage? No, to be honest though, I don't have much interest. I've seen the trailers, and from the stuff I've heard, I'll take a pass. I know the same guy directed San Andreas, so don't have much interest in that film. Question number 4, please rant against the following. Justin Trudeau. I've heard of him. I kind of know who he is, but it's hard to rant against him. And the only reason I've heard about him is through Twitter, because some people out there talk about him. Again, I kind of know who he is, but I kind of don't. So I can't really, you know, share thoughts or have much thought. Freddie Highmore. Who's Freddie Highmore? It sounds familiar. Yeah, I thought that was him. Okay, the kid from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in the new Psycho series. Can't really rant against him because, you know, he hasn't pissed me off as much as others. You know, he doesn't piss me off as much as, let's say, a Chris Pine or a Colin Farrell or a Tobey Maguire. You know, to me, I'll leave him alone. Boris Johnson. Who's Boris Johnson? Because now I have to look up these names. never heard of Boris Johnson. Macklemore, don't listen to him. I've heard about him. I just don't listen to Macklemore. Weeknd, never heard of. Roger Waters. Pink Floyd. I don't know. I mean, Judd Apatow and his crew. I can't really say too much about Judd Apatow. I guess it just depends. So again, it's hard. I know I'm not really doing a great job of ranting, but it's hard to rant against some of these people because to me there's much more offensive and annoying people. Like, again, I said Chris Pine, a Colin Farrell, a Tobey Maguire, which I know we haven't seen much of lately. But I think there's more actors now that piss me off more, that are more annoying than some of these guys. But that's just me. And question number 6, thoughts on Michael Jackson. I like Michael Jackson. I know there's always been a cloud hanging over, a bad cloud hanging over Michael Jackson, throughout the 90s and such, and what happened. I don't know, it's just sad that the way he went out, and, the doctor was a piece of shit. But, I like quite a few of the songs from back in the day. My favorite is Man in the Mirror. But you also got Billie Jean and Thriller and, I would say I'm a fan. I mean, I don't listen to a lot of, like, if I gave you a top 10 of artists, Michael Jackson wouldn't be in there. I like some of his songs from back in the day. I would say I like Michael Jackson. He's not like at the top for me, but, it's just the whole, what happened, the way he went out. And I actually remember where I was when he passed away. I was actually swimming in my neighbor's pool. And I heard about it. I forgot how. I think my neighbor told me. But, yeah, it's just sad and unfortunate what happened. And too many people like that just die way too soon because of drugs, because of, whether it be a Prince or Whitney Houston. It's, waste of talent. It's a waste of life, to be honest. Question number 7. Have you ever used WordPress, Blogger, LiveJournal, Tumblr, or any other web software? WordPress, not much. Blogger, I think I used Blogger for a little bit. Of course, I'm making blogs. LiveJournal, never used. Tumblr, I did have for a little bit, but I just didn't care for it. I mean, I grew tired of it, to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, that's my thoughts on those. Tumblr, I haven't been to Tumblr in a long time, and I had a Tumblr page. I just got tired of it. I got bored with it. Blogging, maybe something that I would like to do again is blog a little bit more. I would like to do that. But thank you for the questions, TurboTech War. We got 7 questions from Shawn Little. What is your favorite? He says, what a shame your old videos are deleted. A couple of them are on my channel. Okay, I'll have to check that out. Question number 1. What is your favorite Marvel superhero and why? I would say Spider-Man. But movie-wise, it's really... Okay, I love Spider-Man 2. I'll go in order. How about this? I'll go in order. Spider-Man, the first movie, it's just, to me, it's there. To me, not a great movie, but it's there. Spider-Man 2 is my favorite. Spider-Man 3 sucks. Amazing Spider-Man, to me, I liked it when I first saw it, but I just, after a while, after a few more watches, I just didn't care for it anymore. Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a bad sequel. Spider-Man Homecoming, which I actually liked, and I look forward to the next one. So it's definitely been like a up and down, like an EKG. That's how it's been with the Spider-Man films for me. But in regards of, the hero, and to me, he had some of the best villains. He had some of the coolest villains, from Venom to Carnage to Green Goblin to Mysterio to Shocker. I mean, you got all these Marvel superheroes, like the X-Men and, Hulk, Iron Man. But if I had to pick one, I would say Spider-Man, because he seemed like, to me, the coolest character, and one character that I always got into. Now, if you're talking about DC, I would say Batman. More so Batman. But I know you didn't ask that question. But Spider-Man for sure. And, so yeah, that's my pick. And because whenever I also think about that, I think about playing Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation 2. That was a great game, by the way, which I played. I know I beat that game at least 3 or 4 times. So that was always fun. So that's my pick. Question number 2, did you see the Ghostbusters 2016? If so, what are your deep thoughts? I haven't seen the new Ghostbusters. Now, I have seen it for cheap. I've seen it for cheap at Walmart in the $5 bin. To me, that's way too high for that. It should be in the $1 bin, or, I don't know, 99-cent bin. It's just, I really don't want to waste my time. Now, if I happen to come across the film for like $1, then usually I pick it up. It's like, I've recently found some movies for $1 that I've got lucky, where, for example, I found The Mummy with Tom Cruise for $1. I watched it, I didn't care for it. But for $1, I usually pick it up. Even though I have some, assumption that I've heard it's bad. I've heard bad things about it. It's hard to pass up on a movie that's recent that you can find for $1. So, at some point, I would have to bite the bullet when it comes to that movie, because, I remember around that time that film came out, I did like 3 or 4 rants just on that movie, just ranting about it, sharing thoughts, and but I just haven't seen it yet, because I just can't. It's hard to find the energy. It's hard to, I just can't seem to find energy to watch it. To be honest, I just don't. Why? Because I've seen RoboCop, the remake, and it sucks. I've seen Elm Street remake. It sucks. And I'm tired of remakes. I'm tired of reboots. And for people out there, the directors, the filmmakers, to think that there's something more to that, because, Paul Feig, started this whole thing about, if you don't like it, you're a sexist. And even Sandra Bullock said something recently, which I love you, Sandra Bullock, but I know she said something to the effect of, with that film, these actresses were walking into a firing squad, and, I can sort of see what she means, but it was an idea that it wasn't needed. It wasn't warranted. Nobody asked for a remake of Ghostbusters, whether if you have a male cast or a female cast, because at the end of the day, based off of the history of recent remakes and reboots, it was not going to bode well. And just that, from word of mouth, it did not bode well. It's not, and for these filmmakers out there, and Paul Feig and Sony Pictures, because I remember around the time that came out, they were taking off comments from the trailers on YouTube, even like people that weren't being mean, that had, fair criticisms, or saying, I don't look forward to this. They would delete comments like that. they would delete negative comments. I'm not just talking about trolls, I'm talking about negative comments. So when you're going that far to protect and, you know, pump up this film, then to me you deserve all the shit in the world. So again, it doesn't matter if it's a male cast. It doesn't matter if it was Ben Stiller's crew of Ben Stiller, Owen Wilson, Vince Vaughn, because to me it still would have sucked. You know, it doesn't matter if you had, you know, Jack Black. It doesn't matter if you had, you know, again, it doesn't matter if you had Owen Wilson in the film. It doesn't matter if you had Adam Sandler's crew. If you had Adam Sandler, Rob Schneider, Kevin James, David Spade, because to me it still would have sucked. Why? Because of Pixels. I haven't seen Pixels, but based off of that and the crap I've heard, it's the same thing. So if you would have had Adam Sandler's crew, you would have got another Pixels. Or on that same level. So yeah, I can't find the energy to watch it. If I ever come across it for real dirt cheap, then I'll watch it. And then I'll give you my rant. Until then, I'm just not, I don't care. Question number 3, what are your thoughts on Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom? I may go check it out. I know I mentioned earlier about seeing that one, and I may go check that out still. Jurassic World I thought was okay to fair. I didn't think it was a great movie. But I have a feeling, I think I would like this a little bit more based off of the trailer. So we'll see. Question number 4, what film made you get emotional and in tears? I don't know, I mean, I don't really cry a lot, but definitely I can think of like an emotional ending, like 127 Hours. You know, that had a great emotional ending. I mean, there's not a whole lot out there. I mean, there's not a whole lot that I could think of, film-wise. I don't know. Not too many. And that's not me denying it. You know, I've never said that I've never cried. It's just, you know, I'm trying to go off the top of my head as far as emotional endings or, you know, teary-eyed. But 127 hours, you know, the ending is, you know, emotional. So I would say that one. Question number 5, would there ever be a film in the 1930s you would like? Yes, I've always wanted to see the King Kong film. I've never seen it, but I know I would have a feeling I would like that. But I haven't seen a whole lot of films from the 1930s, which I'm starting to do more and more. I'm actually, you know, trying to check out more films from back in the day, which pisses me off because about a month ago I picked up a Vincent Price double pack. It was House on Haunted Hill and another one. And the disc was skipping. So, you know, I was enjoying it, and the disc started skipping, so I threw it away. It just got bad. So I'm trying to check out more older films, you know, even some of the sci-fi films from way back when, the black and white ones, that I'm curious about. So, but the 1930s, King Kong was definitely one that I would like to check out at some point. Question number 6. What cartoon show do you like to watch as an adult? Current cartoons? None. I just don't have interest in cartoons as much. But I actually did watch one cartoon that I got into my adult years. Was the 2003 Ninja Turtles series, the TMNT 2003 series. I really enjoyed that. That was a show that I got into my 20s. So that would, I would say that's one show because I could still watch it and enjoy it. Batman, the animated series, I would say that's another one. I forgot about that one. I actually had the first 2 seasons of that, and I was watching that not too long ago. So that's another series I could watch. I could still watch and enjoy. So I would say that one. And that's actually my favorite animated series. The Batman animated series. Question number 7. Which comedy movie do you like more? National Lampoon's Vacation or What About Bob? That's tough. I have to go with What About Bob. I have to go with that one a little bit more. I think it's one of my favorite Bill Murray films. I love the first Vacation film, but What About Bob? You know, you can't get... That's a comedy classic. That's a hard one. That's a hard question. But if I had to pick, I would pick that one. Gimme, 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 I need. If possible, I would like to hear a podcast about The Last Jedi. That would be interesting because I like The Force Awakens. I liked about The Force Awakens. Well, you know, when I get my podcast back up again, Talking Real, which I've had to take a break doing, but for those out there who don't know, I'll fill you in right here. You know, Talking Real I was doing with Matt, and I want to do more, but there are some technical issues that I have to sort out, and then I'll pick that back up, and we can do more episodes, have more topics, etc. So, you know, that would definitely be a topic I would like to discuss, because, you know, The Last Jedi I can rant about more and more. But thank you for the questions, Shawn Little. Let's see, 7 questions. We got 7 questions from BHunt799. What is the worst movie you ever seen? The worst movie? I could name one that sticks out, but I know there's so much. Well, gosh, I mean, I could say 2 based off what I've seen, because I know there's so much out there that's far worse. Cyborg 3, The Recycler, was pretty bad. Cyborg 2 was just as bad, but that film, Cyborg 3, yes, there was sequels to Cyborg, but if you ever watched that, that was pretty god-awful. And then Human Centipede 3, because that was pretty bad. And that was the last time that I really had some drinks. I'll say it here, I was pretty much intoxicated when I was watching Human Centipede 3. And there's some things I remember and some things I don't. So maybe I'm thankful that I was in that state, because even when I'm trying to watch it, you know, some things are a blur, but even from what I remember, it was just god-awful. That's definitely one of the worst films I've ever seen, Human Centipede 3. You know, I can name some ones like Speed 2, Batman and Robin. Those, you know, are some of the more go-to, you know, worst sequels, but, you know, there's definitely far worse, and there's far worse out there that I still haven't seen. But I'll just throw out those 2 for now. Question number 2, what is your favorite movie of all time? Definitely Hackers. It's got to be Hackers. I mean, that's where I get my moniker from. These were cool. You know, maybe one day I'll do a whole video where I gush about the film, and talk about and discuss Hackers. You know, why it's my favorite film of all time. So definitely, it's my favorite film. Question number 3, what is your favorite movie franchise? Favorite movie franchise? Probably the Rambo films. I gotta go with the first 4, which I know they're making a 5th one. And to me, it's not needed. It's not needed. Because you know what? The more I thought about it, between Creed and Rambo, one of these characters is going to die, and that's going to piss me off. It's either going to be Rocky or it's going to be Rambo, and that's going to piss me off because I have a feeling that's where They want to take one of these characters, and I don't want to see that. Which is why I say no Rambo 5. Rambo 4 was great. It ended on a high note. Leave it alone at that. You went full circle, Sly. Stop stretching it out. You know, I mean, what is going on? I mean, do you need money? I mean, it's just... But there's... You know, Rambo definitely is my favorite franchise, I would say. And then probably next would be, you know, like, probably Die Hard or, you know, Terminator. And there's always Indiana Jones. So, definitely, I would say Rambo is my favorite. Question number 4. What is your least favorite movie character? Leprechaun. Because I want to kick his ass through a field goal. For the point. Leprechaun, Jar Jar Binks. Least favorite movie character. Jar Jar... I don't know, who's more annoying, Jar Jar Binks or Leprechaun? The least favorite movie character. I believe you're asking my least favorite. So Leprechaun I would say is my worst. But I'm thinking about least favorite. So let's go with least favorite. Least favorite. I don't know, because there's so many out there. I don't know. I don't know if I have a least favorite movie character. Because if I don't care for the film, I don't care for the character. And there's so many examples that I can name. I'm just trying to give you a fresh answer. Maybe I'll come back to that one. Question number 5. Which is worse? Which is worse, Shark Boy and Love Girl or the Garbage Pail Kids movie? I haven't seen either one, but I've heard about them. If I could take a guess, I'll tell you, I would say the Shark, that one. I would lean towards more that one. Question number 6. Which sequel is more
underrated, Jaws 2 or Predator 2? I would say Predator 2 because I think Predator 2 gets a whole lot more crap. I think people bash on that a little bit more than Jaws 2. And I know there's some out there that don't like Jaws 2 either. But I love Jaws 2 and I love Predator 2. But if I had to look at the two as, you know, which is more underrated, I would say Predator 2 because it, over the years, you know, it's gotten, you know, it got a lot of shit, you know, because of Danny Glover. You know, there was no Arnold. You know, the plot, you know, people shitting on that. So I would say that one. And I know that it seems like in recent years people have really warmed up to Predator 2 because I guess with Predators and the new Predator film that people are appreciating that a little bit more, which is cool. I'm glad to see. So, but yeah, I would say Predator 2, but, you know, I would say if I had to pick that one. Question number 7. Why do you and your friend Matt hate Titanic so much? To me, it's just, it's overhyped. And it's overrated. I could think of better love stories. Ghost, to me, is a better love story than Titanic. Starman with Jeff Bridges, to me, is a better love story than Titanic. I'd rather watch other rom-coms, and that's not even my favorite genre. I'd rather watch other rom-coms than Titanic. And it's just, it's one of those films that it gets overplayed and it gets overhyped, you know, but that's just me. That's my opinion on Titanic. And since then, James Cameron, you know, has not given a shit. Now he wants to make Avatar
3, 4, 5. I'm sorry, Avatar 2. Forgot about that one. But thank you for the questions. Next set of questions are from THX04. Here are my questions for you. Question number 1. How old are you? I am 28. I'll be 29 in about 4 months, which is hard to believe. You know, it's all about, you know, you gotta be young in your mind. You know, I try not to think about that, but I'm 28. Question number 2. In what way did you discover movies and films? Definitely early on. And the early 90s, well, mid-90s, I remember having a lot of VHS tapes. And I can remember certain films that I had, certain films that I would rewatch over and over again because I'm sure I wore out the tape for, you know, TMNT 1990. I remember watching that a lot. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, you know, which that's another one that I'm sure I wore out the tape a lot. You know, there were certain films that I could watch and certain films I wasn't allowed to watch. But definitely, I mean, my love for films goes back, you know, for as long as I can remember, which is probably 22, 23 years. So it's definitely been, I didn't start collecting until like 2001. Between 2001 and 2003 is when I started really collecting DVDs and movies. I remember when we had a house fire back in 2004, I had my own little closet full of DVDs, and I maybe had like 70, 80 DVDs. And when the house was catching fire and I was outside, I told the fireman, I was like, please go back in there and save my DVDs. That's all I care about is my movies. Everything else can burn. So I was, you know, that's all I cared about was getting my movies out. So, you know, but as far as discovering and getting into films, definitely goes back to like the mid-90s. I recall like having a Batman Forever poster when around that time that movie came out. I think it was around like June of '95, and I remember, you know, some of the McDonald's cups they had. So, you know, it's in the movie itself, it's so, but you know, it's certain memories like that and certain things that you remember back in the day that really got me into, you know, loving films and, you know, made me a movie freak. But great question. Question number 3. How did you discover the film Hackers? Actually, my friend got me into it. He's an IT guy. You know, he works for a computer company and stuff. And, you know, he had this film Hackers that he had, and I watched it. And to be honest, at first, I'm like, I don't understand this film. I don't get it. And then the more and more I started watching, I started really get into it. And then somehow it became my favorite film of all time. You know, I mean, it's a great cyberpunk movie. Cyberpunk thriller, whatever you want to call it. And it's definitely of its time, you know, the 90s, definitely a different time than now in regards to technology. But, you know, certain things happen, and it just became my favorite film. It's hard to explain. But that's a film that, like I said, I would like to talk about in depth someday for a video. Really talk about that. But that's how I discovered Hackers. This was probably back in, you know, mid-2000s, something like that, something around that time. Somewhere between 05 and 07 is when I discovered the film. I'm just taking a guess. I know, you know, it's been, you know, I've seen the movie quite a few times, so. But a great question. Question number 4. What are your thoughts on people that say modern movies are the best and old movies are cheesy?
even if they never saw the damn movies? That is a great question. It's... How can I answer this question? It's the new generation. They just don't care. They just don't care. To be honest, that's just... I blame many parties in regards to what they've... Is the word indoctrination? Is that the word I'm looking for? You know, in regards to moviegoers now, that, you know, modern movies are the best and this is what matters. And, you know, if it's from 2008 before, you know, it's crap, it's dated. And I would like to do a full rant on that, because I think that's a question, that's a topic that requires more ranting, and definitely it pisses me off. It still pisses me off because, like I said, this new generation, they just don't care. And they don't care, and they think, you know, movies now from like 2008 and on is, you know, the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I know I've sort of been there before, but it's also channels like, you know, Cinema Sins and, you know, channels like that, you know, that sort of, they lay out this whole, you know, they're educating or critiquing. That's the word I'm looking for. They think that's, you know, oh, it's critiquing. Bullshit. You know, don't you see what you're doing? I mean, you're turning off people from checking out these movies, these classic movies, and they'll never watch them. They'll just give a look and say, oh, it's cheesy, but they'll never give films a chance. That's what pisses me off, because, again, the kids nowadays, they just don't care. They want quick. They want fast. They want that instant gratification. And there's so much to blame for that. There's so much to blame. Studios are to blame. Filmmakers are to blame. Because, you know, and and I've mentioned this earlier, but it's always, you know, these directors and fans that get into these Twitter feuds and social media feuds. And everyone, you know, no wonder Hollywood sucks. Because, you know, they just blame everybody, and everybody wants to point the finger at each other, and so you get complacent results. You get a complacent product. I mean, it's just, again, there's so many answers to that, and I'm tired of that word cheesy. I'm just tired of it. And yeah, I mean, some of these classic films like RoboCop, Jaws, Predator, Predator 2, Back to the Future even, they don't want to give a chance to, because it's old, because it's cheesy, because there's no CGI, because it's not a Marvel film, because it's not a DC film. You know, there's no shaky cam. So, that's a great question. I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. Studios, they don't care. Therefore, fans don't care. I mean, it's just, again, I'm not answering the best, because, you know, again, that's something that to me requires more rant. And I sort of ranted on that before, but I definitely would like to. I would like to go more in on that, because, you know, it seems like the classic movies don't get the respect, because it's always a reboot. It's always a remake. You know, it's RoboCop from 2014. It's Elm Street remake. It's the Ghostbusters remake. You know, so it's a mix of different things.
Question number 5. What kind of hobby or hobbies do you have besides movies? Listen to music. Definitely gets me going. If the day is not the best, I can always go to music and enjoy it, and I get lost in it. Photoshop. I really enjoy Photoshop, which I have. And I'm actually working on a couple of t-shirts that I'm going to start selling soon. And so I'm enjoying Photoshop. You know, I do that. Exercise when I can. Cooking. Definitely more so this year than, because I've done a lot of cooking over the past, a few months. It's cheaper. And I guess I get that from, both sides of the family, because both of my grandfathers used to cook. One was a cook in the war, and the other was also a cook. So I guess I got that too as well. And I don't know, just something about cooking, is another form of, escape. And, like I don't cook like big dinners for people, mostly for myself, but, I'm always trying different things, and sometimes I fuck up, and sometimes, it's trial and error, and that's part of it. And then you have, a show like Chopped, which I'm into, and that's weird because, I don't watch a lot of cooking shows, but for some reason that show grabs me. I think it's a fun show. But cooking is definitely one hobby that I've really gotten into, if you say that's a hobby. I'm trying to think of more. But definitely like music, Photoshop, cooking, exercise. Sometimes disc golf, which I haven't played enough of this year. I like disc golf. So there's quite a few things. Question number 6. What is your favorite YouTube video of your old channel? Definitely, I think you have to go with the Cobra fan discussion, Meet the Cure. Definitely one of my favorite videos, which I did that a few years ago, and I know it's on YouTube somewhere. Someone copied it, which I haven't said anything to the guy or, send him a message or drop a comment yet, but I know I've seen it out there on YouTube. That's definitely one of my favorite videos with me, Rambarath, and Wildman Beyond. I had so much fun making that, and it was just great to, something like that. I mean, I would love to have again. I would love to, make again. That's definitely one of my all-time favorite YouTube videos, because, again, it wasn't just me. I mean, you had Matt and Wildman Beyond. They were also a big part of that. I'm trying to think of another one. The Ultimate, what was it? The Ultimate Rant? What was that? What was that big rant we did? Was it called The Ultimate Rant? I think it was called The Ultimate Rant. I think. But it was like a 7-hour rant where it was a collage of different people that I had on, like Matt Thomas, Wildman Beyond, Rembrandt, Mike OCP, and I know one video was like 7 hours long, and then like the next video was like 5 hours long, but it was just one big like rant. The Colossal Rant, that's what it was called, the Colossal Rant. That was so much fun. If I could do that again, I mean, we ranted on everything from trolls to Rotten Tomatoes to, remakes and reboots. And that's definitely one of my favorites. That was definitely a fun rant. The longest rant we ever did. Question number 7. What popular kind of movies don't you want to watch? Popular movies? Anything from DC. I know it's going to piss off some people, but that's just me. But thank you for the questions. Let's see, going at an hour and a half here.
see, next set of questions are from Screaming Joker Productions. Question number 1. Did you know before the 1988 TV show The War of the Worlds that George Romero was working on a remake of the film, and that supposedly he wanted Pink Floyd to do the instrumental soundtrack? I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. But that's interesting. Question number 2. Could you see Kurt Russell as Bill Harding in the sequel to the film Twister, replacing Bill Paxton in a digital IMAX 3D tornado movie? To be honest, you don't need a sequel to Twister. Maybe that's something he could have done back in the day with Bill Paxton, but maybe something like that. Maybe like a sequel. Maybe it could have been something else. Maybe not exactly a Twister, but you could have continued on with that character, Bill Paxton's character, because I love Twister and I love Bill Paxton. But nowadays, I don't want to see a sequel. I have a feeling that they would try to do a reboot, which, let's not, God forbid. But Kurt Russell, I just can't see in that role. But that's just my opinion. Question number 3. Would you like to see a Friday the 13th movie where Tommy Jarvis and Creighton Duke are the lead? And Tommy Jarvis is this badass Van Helsing type of character, hunting down Jason, and Creighton Duke is sort of like Dr. Loomis. That'd be a fun movie. If only they would do it. That would be a fun movie. I would go for that. It makes me want to check out Jason Goes to Hell again, because I haven't seen that in a while. I know that's one film that sort of gets a lot of crap. But that'd be a fun plot. Sure. Question number 4. There's this bodybuilder that I think would be a good Jason. What are your thoughts about the 7'2" bodybuilder playing Jason? This guy's name is Oliver Richer. Let's look him up. Oliver Richer. Never heard of this guy? I don't see him on IMDb. But I don't know, maybe you can send me a picture or something. But Jason, I mean, I don't think they're gonna make a Jason film anytime soon. I just don't see it. Question number 5. Do you think that Bruce Campbell is joking about retiring from MASH? I think he is. Well, I haven't seen the Evil Dead series. I've seen the first 2 Evil Deads, and I love them. I love the first 2 Evil Dead films. I haven't seen Army of Darkness. I do have it on DVD, so that's definitely another one I have to watch. But I haven't seen the new series. I think it's over by now. But great question, though. I know he did say something about retiring the character, but I'm not completely sure. Question number 6. Do you think of the 1990s and the natural disaster movie craze, we should have got a hurricane film? Well, we almost sort of did. Stallone back in the day in the 90s almost did a film called Gale Force, which was sort of like Die Hard in a Hurricane. And I know Matt Thomas, Studio Red Band, he knows a little bit more about Gale Force, but yeah, that's something that we almost got. I'm not sure what had happened or like details from the script, but that's pretty much the plot. It was going to be like that type of Die Hard scenario, but in a hurricane. And I think I want to say the bad guys were like pirate types. So that's definitely one that I think we should have got back in the day. Sometime after around Cliffhanger, The Specialist. I think that would have been a cool, sort of sequel to Cliffhanger. Maybe like it sort of feels like a Cliffhanger Daylight hybrid. Where Daylight is sort of a disaster film. So it kind of reminds me of those 2 films. But definitely, if you want to know more about that, I would say ask Studio Red Band, because he knows so much more about that film. But I do know that that was one that Stallone was considered for, and I think that's one we should have got back in the day. Question number 7. Do you think the Mandela effect could be an interesting idea for Time Cop sequel with Van Damme? If you do this, who would you cast as the bad guy? I've heard of the Mandela effect. Isn't it the same thing as deja vu? Deja vu? Isn't that the same thing? I'm not too familiar with the Mandela effect, but I think it's sort of the same idea as deja vu. I could say it right. Deja vu. Deja vu. Deja vu. That's right. I don't know what they could do for a sequel to Time Cop, but I think that's one that Van Damme should explore. Especially, I mean, he's worked with Peter Hyams recently. Why not do another Time Cop film? Do it right. Have Van Damme come back. I mean, that's one that Van Damme's biggest hit. And it wasn't. That's one that should have been a franchise. That's definitely one that should have had like 2 more sequels, because you could do so much with that. You could do so much with that, character, and that, especially after that first film, where you could have taken, this character. It doesn't make sense to me. Time Cop was his biggest film. You don't make a franchise out of it. I know they had a sequel, but that was direct-to-video. But I think he could still do it now. Even if it's direct-to-video, I would like to see Van Damme return to that character, Time Cop. And in fact, I may watch Time Cop after this Q&A. But who would you cast as the bad guy? Who would I cast? I'll come up with 3 options. One, I would say Wesley Snipes, because they've never worked on the film together. I don't know, people may say, well, it sounds very Demolition Man-like, but, it would be a cool opportunity for Van Damme and Snipes to work together. Another bad guy would probably be... I'm trying to think, sort of in the direct-to-video realm a little bit. Let's see, Wesley Snipes. Maybe... who would you cast as a villain? I would definitely have somebody that would actually fight with Van Damme. Ron Silver was a great bad guy, but I'm kind of looking for someone that can match with Van Damme a little bit. So maybe I'll come up with a couple of names instead of 3 names, because I don't want to take too long. But I would say either Wesley Snipes or, maybe a Statham. Maybe a Statham would do it. Give them a chance to go against each other. See what Van Damme and Statham, what kind of fight that would be. I don't want to say Seagal, because Seagal would never do it. His ego wouldn't let him do it. But that's a great question. My phone is ringing. But I think that's an idea that could still work today, definitely. But thank you for the questions. Next set of questions are from Moviemetalrock McDonald. Do you think it's a double standard that people are okay with Wolverine not wearing his costume in any of the X-Men movies, but they're not okay with the Punisher from 1989 not having the skull? Definitely is a double standard. People bag on the Punisher from, the Dolph Lundgren's Punisher for not having the skull, but where was Wolverine's spandex? Yeah, that's definitely one that it's hypocritical. And I like the Punisher from 1989 a little bit more than the X-Men films, but that's just me. I still come on. I like the first 3 X-Men films, but you know, if I had to pick, yeah, that's one that's definitely hypocritical. But thank you for the question. Next set of questions are from DJ Donnelly. Question number 1: what are your thoughts on this new Halloween movie coming out this October? Talked about that. I just don't care anymore. I think it's, I think Matt Rambrath for Life said it best. It's just, how long can you, it's a pond that's running dry. And it's the same formula. It's the same thing. It's what's going to happen. You're going to have Laurie Strode probably die, and you're going to make her crazy. She's probably not going to be in the film that much. You're going to have characters that you don't give a crap about. And it just doesn't, I don't have much interest. I don't have a lot of interest in it. I know more people, especially, it seems like more so in the horror community are looking forward to it because we want another Halloween film. And that's another problem that I find worrisome, is that people have this, it's like sort of standard of, at least we get it. Like a Halloween film. At least it's a new Halloween film. That is not enough. I'm sorry, that's not enough. If that's your standard is, at least we get another film, at least it's something, then no wonder movies and stuff now are just so complacent because you've set your bar so low. Then they're going to meet your low standard. There's no standards anymore because you've set your bar so low that at least we're getting something. We're getting something when you could be expecting better. How about expect better results? Not just a flash of nostalgia, not just a flash of Michael Myers, not just a flash of Jamie Lee Curtis, which is, on one hand, it's cool to see her in this, playing this character again, but again, it's been played out for so many years and again, I'm sure people are going to flock to it. People are going to see it's going to make money because it's coming out in October. And it's been a minute since we've had a Halloween film that's made theater, but it just, for how long can you milk the teat? I keep thinking of Meet the Parents, milking the cat, milking the teat, So, and I just don't have much thought. I just don't care. Question number 2, what are some of your favorite cop or FBI type of flicks? Definitely Copland, that's a great one. Untouchables? If you consider that a cop flick, sort of an FBI, I would say that. Untouchables is another one. Would you say Heat is one? I like Point Break. Favorite cop. But yeah, I would definitely say like Copland is at the top. Of great ones. Question number 3. What are some of your movie genres that you feel should just die or make a comeback? What movie genre should die? I've talked about action. I've talked some about horror, but I haven't said enough about horror. But, and then with horror genre, I know it's all subjective. And I talked about how sci-fi needs an overhaul. But on that same coin, I think the sci-fi genre should die. Why? Because I talked about Star Wars, I talked about Star Trek, and if Star Wars is, how can I put it, if Star Wars is the state of sci-fi right now, then it needs to fucking die. What should happen is, it needs to die, and at some point, bring it back. Bring it back when it's, I don't know what you could do. I know people are saying, well, what more can they do? You know, we've done everything. Then be more creative. Be more creative in this genre of sci-fi, because even like with Marvel and DC, technically that's still sci-fi, and that's being stretched out. You know, for how long can you keep going to that pond? Because at some point, people are going to get tired. Whether if you like the state of comic book films right now or not, if you prefer Marvel over DC or vice versa, at some point it's going to be stretched out, and it's definitely going to burn you out. And I'm feeling that right now. As much as I liked Infinity War, and I liked Deadpool 2, to be honest, I could take a break. So, and that's also falls into the sci-fi category. So right now, if I could just say the sci-fi genre, I think, you know, that should just die. I know that's, you know, just kill it off right now and come back to it, revive it at some point down the line, because we need a break. You know, I could say the horror genre because the horror genre is in the shits. I could say the action genre because the action genre, you know, if it's not John Wick, then it sucks. But I think sci-fi I think it's getting stretched out. I think people are getting soured by sci-fi. I think people are getting burned out by sci-fi. Because I think sci-fi, to me, again, movies, you know, Marvel and DC falls into that a little bit. And some of it's fantasy, but, you know, Star Wars, Star Trek, you know, that's still sci-fi. And if sci-fi means, you know, we're going to make, you know, characters like Lando a pansexual where he fucks everything, and that's all we're going to focus on is what a character fucks, then yeah, I think sci-fi should die. Kill it off, and then come back to it in 5 years. You know, be more creative. Sometimes it can work. I've heard good things about Blade Runner 2049. You know, I've heard good things about that. But, you know, I think that's one that should we need to pull the plug on, to be honest with you. Because it's a drag. It's a fucking drag. And again, if it's, you know, if Star Wars, Star Trek, comic films, and all these is the state of sci-fi right now, then I think more than any genre that sci-fi should be thrown in the grave. Because it's either fans are soured, or we're getting burned. We're getting burned out. And which genre should make a comeback? I would like to see the action genre come back. You know, I know I've sort of answered this earlier, talking about the action genre a little bit, but, you know, I think there's room for a comeback. You know, I don't know who could be that next action star, because Dwayne Johnson, you know, he's sort of like, you know, he's caught up in, if it's not a Fast Five film, whatever, but I don't know, I mean, it seems like Dwayne Johnson even can't make the best decisions. You know, he's making Jumanji 2. Don't care for. Big Trouble in Little China remake. Don't care for. You know, he did Rampage. I have no interest in seeing. Skyscraper. Looks like crap. So we need an action. Jason Statham, I mean, I look forward to the Meg. But I just think that, you know, while John Wick, you know, is a nice sort of appetizer of what the action genre can be now, you know, there could be so much more. There could be so much more like John Wick. If they could just take the time and, you know, take note that, you know, the human character can still work. The human element can still work. And you can still have practical fight scenes. You can still have practical explosions. Just do it practically. To me, there's much more room for a comeback in that genre than, let's say, the horror genre. You know? So I would say that. But great question. And my nose is itching. Question number 4. What are some of your favorite movies that have a cult following? Hackers, Hackers has a cult following, I would say. I don't know, there's so many movies that have a cult following. Because back in the day when a movie didn't do well, and then over the years, you know, it kind of got a cult following. There's so many to name that it's hard to pick, like, name a few of my favorites, because there's so many that have a cult following. I'll have to come back to that one because, again, there's just so many titles. Question number 5. Which decade do you feel had the better movie soundtracks, the 80s or the 90s? I would say... It's a great question. It almost seems like the 80s had the best sort of... a lot of great scores. And the 90s had more of, like, straight-up songs. But I also know, like, the 80s, you know, had, like, Rocky IV had a great soundtrack. You know, Cobra had a great soundtrack. Over the Top had a great soundtrack. And other films in general, 90s. I would say who had the better movie soundtracks? I would say the 80s. But it's hard because there's that's a lot of films, and, you know, I don't know. I keep looking back at the camera but, yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. I mean, I would say the 80s if I had to pick one. But that doesn't take anything away from the 90s. Question number 6. Do you feel practical effects will make a comeback? I would hope. I have some hope. We'll see. If I had to bet on it, probably no, because they're just going to go back to making CGI and go back to the old CGI boat. You know, you see it with films like, again, Skyscraper. You know, comic book films are CGI galore. So, you know, it's hard because people want to take the easy way and they want to, you know, take shortcuts. Can I blame them? No, but I think practical effects to me will always win because you can see the effort into making the effect. You can see the hard work. You can see the sweat. And that's not to say they don't build sets anymore. They still build sets, but when it comes to practical effects, practical makeup, practical gore, practical explosions, to me there's room for that again. And you could do it, imagine that now. It's like I look at the TMNT 1990 film, the first Ninja Turtles film. You know, like you see the practical effects and the animatronics. Imagine what they could do with that now in 2018. You know, where they can finite a little bit, you know, that a little bit more. You know, they can, and I'm not talking about just, you know, CGI over the mouth or, you know, whatever, but they can do so much more with that. You know, they can add little touches. They can do so much more. But the fact is, they don't want to do so much more. They'd rather take the easy way. But great question. I hope. Question number 7. Which format do you like best? VHS, Betamax, Laserdisc, DVD, or Blu-ray? And also, what are your thoughts on 4K? Do you feel it's just a gimmick? I love VHS. I know that a while back I had to give up a lot of VHS tapes because it was taking up a lot of room. So right now I'm probably down to like maybe 20 that I have in a box. Because I had so much VHS, like last year, 2016, I had a whole closet full of like 200 tapes that I just kept, buying and just collecting because it looked good on the shelf. And I know that they still sell some out there. I actually know like 2 or 3 places where they sell VHS tapes for close to nothing. Maybe one day I'll get into that again and kind of collect a little bit more with VHS. But I need more room. Never had Betamax, Laserdisc, DVD and Blu-ray. I have a lot of DVDs right now, Blu-rays. So I'm still collecting DVDs and Blu-rays. What are your thoughts on 4K? Just don't really. I don't know. I mean, I don't have an opinion one way or another. I mean, 4K. It's probably just another gimmick, but it seems like it's starting to catch up a little bit, like it's starting to catch on a little bit. I'm just fine with my DVDs and Blu-rays, so I'm fine with those. But thank you for the questions. And I think I got maybe a couple of more. Let me see. Let me double check. I got one more, but I'm double checking on the. Okay, I got 2 videos. I'm going to double check on the first video, make sure I got every question, because I had one more from THX. Yep. Okay. I got one more question, which I've been looking forward to answering this question. Okay. The last question I got from THX04, and I'm kind of glad you asked me this question because, but here we go. The final question. I have one more question. Don't answer if it's personal. What was the whole John Avenger situation? Well, and I actually replied to him a little bit, but I didn't want to go too much into it until I got to this question. In short, John Avenger is a no-good piece of shit troll. He was a guy that for a while harassed not just me, but other people up here on YouTube, like, Matt, Rambrath, I'm sure OCP, I'm sure Fabio, Wild Man Beyond, and others. And then it went from YouTube to Facebook, where he was making these fake accounts, harassing different people, like the ones that just mentioned, Matt and Mike OCP, Fabio, the Italian Stallion 51, Wild Man Beyond, and he wouldn't stop. He was being relentless, and he just kept harassing us for a while. Even Matt Thomas, Studio Red Band, he went after him. And I'm sure there's more people out there. But for a while he was harassing us, and we knew it was John Avenger because, this guy is a no good, like I said, piece of shit. He's an asshole. And he's a troll. He's a fucking troll. And it's funny that you asked me this question because, you asked me this question 3 days ago. Well, actually, it was this week. It may have been like Monday night. Like, I forgot which night was it. Sunday night and Monday night. Here's what happened. I was on Twitter, and I was just kind of scrolling through, looking at different stuff, and I see all kinds of feed.
different retweets from, certain people that I follow and, and so on. And I happened to see John Avenger's ass. And I recognize his face because I've seen some of his videos before. And you can actually find, well, I'm not going to plug his channel, fuck him. But I've seen his mug, and immediately I'm like, how the fuck did he end up on Twitter? Well, apparently, John Avenger had made a rant, I want to say on The Last Jedi. And he had an action figure of Rey from the film. And he said, fuck this actress. He tore the action figure apart and threw it, I guess. Well, anyways, the video got retweeted by Blumhouse Productions, which I want to get. I think they're the people behind the new Halloween film. Let me see. I want to get it right. Yeah, Blumhouse Productions, which are behind some films such as Get Out, Insidious, The Purge, Split, Upgrade, Sinister. So, they're pretty... So I don't know if it's the new Halloween film, but Blumhouse Productions have retweeted, somehow hit that video, it was maybe 30 seconds. But that video ended up being retweeted by the VP of Blumhouse Productions saying, look at this guy, this is pathetic. And then, before you knew it, the director of Saw and Upgrade jumped in there and said, yeah, he's a fucking man baby. And then other random people started jumping in and saying, yeah, he's pathetic, and, he has a mental disorder, and, is what's wrong with fans. So, John Avenger got his. The tables turned on John Avenger. Finally, someone saw, how full of shit this guy is. And again, he's a fucking no-good troll that harasses people. And I don't care if he's watching. You know what, John Avenger? Fuck you. And you know what? All that shit that you got on Twitter, people calling you out, even directors jumping in there saying that, you're a fucking man baby and you fucking deserve it. Because, when DJ Donnelly said it best, why waste your money buying an action figure of Rey just to tear it apart? It seems like a fucking stupid idea. But that's John Avenger. That's John Avenger for you. And thankfully, people see now how full of shit this guy is. And that he's trouble. Blumhouse Productions, the guy that, I forgot his name, the guy who directed Saw and Upgrade, jumped in there, and I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't stop laughing, and I had to be up early for work, and I couldn't sleep because I was laughing my head off. So, John Avenger, you got yours. So, yeah, that's the John Avenger situation. And I don't know if if you asked this question because if you heard of what happened, I don't know if you heard of what happened, that's why you're asking the question, because I know we've mentioned his name a couple of times on a podcast or whatever, me and Studio Red Band, but that's what happened. So, John Avenger got his. And, thank God, so. But anyways, that's pretty much it for this Q&A. It's definitely been a fun one. I've had a lot of fun answering these questions, and we'll definitely have to do again at some point. But for those who submitted questions, thank you. And we'll definitely do this again. So have a good day, and hope you enjoy.